Shalom, grace and peace and greetings. Welcome to another video once again. It's your brother Ezra ben Khazar, and we in here about to have another discussion. In today's discussion, I want to talk about something I've been meaning to talk about since I talked about the Ashkenazi Levites, but this is the origin of the Ashkenazi Jews. Now, the Ashkenazi Jews is a very famous people group, hated all around the world, but also loved around the world as well. Coming from a Hebrew Israelite perspective, those who know my history, if you looked at my intro video, I came into belief in God through the Israelite movement, and then I came out when I started seeing the things that was wrong. But I do still believe that certain people in West Africa could be Israelites. But I also know that Jews come from Israel as well. And that's why, to hopefully clear up for my community and for other people who are interested in this topic, you could see the origin of the people that we would know today as the Ashkenazim, the Ashkenazi Jews. There was a recent debate between a scholar, Dr. Brown, and Gorilla Hebrew. And in this debate, it was, who are the real Israelites? The 12 tribes chart or the Ashkenazi Jews? There was a source that one of the people in the debate used, Dr. Brown, that he spoke on, but it wasn't completely fleshed out. And here I want to flesh out that idea to show that, yes, indeed, the Ashkenazi Jews can trace their DNA to the Levant. Today, we will talk about the Erfurt Jews. These will be your proto-Ashkenazim. Erfurt is a city in Germany, and Jews are first mentioned there in the 12th century, at first under the protection of the king, and by the second half of the 12th century, they had passed to the jurisdiction of the Archbishop of Mainz. In 1221, anti-Jewish riots broke out in Erfurt, and the synagogue was burned down, and a number of Jews were murdered, while some threw themselves into the flames. Among the martyrs was the Patan and cantor Samuel B. Kalonymus. Nevertheless, the Jewish community of Erfurt continued to exist and even to expand. Okay, so the Kalonymus dynasty was a rabbinical dynasty that exerted major influence into the Ashkenazi realm in the 9th to 13th centuries. These line of rabbis came from southern Italy, and they were invited around the year 800 by King Charles of the Franks to move to Mainz and the area of the Rhine region to head the Jewish communities. He will ultimately become the teachers of the generation of Rashi, a very loved sage among Ashkenazi Jews. See, when we read this paper and when we go deep into it, we will see that many of these German Jews are descendant from Roman Jewish slaves or Jews who came to Rome from 70 AD. But there's also a pivotal event that we will talk about that would lead to more Jews fleeing Israel and going to Italy, into Germany. And the Kalonymus family is one example. We also read of the Rabbi Gershom Meor Hagolah, or Gershom ben Judah, and they say that all of the members of the Ashkenazi diaspora are basically his students. Now, the paper that we're looking at is called Genome-wide Data from Medieval German Jews show that Ashkenazi founder event predated the 14th century. And in this paper, we read that the history of these Jews from southern Italy is in fact proven. And this is a very recent paper showing that a lot of the traditions are being proven today with modern science. This is very interesting and exciting. I'm excited to see what else is found. But according to this report, 33 Ashkenazi Jews dated to the 14th century had their DNA tested. And these Erfurt individuals are genetically similar to the modern Ashkenazi Jews. They have substantial Southern European ancestry, but they show variability in the Eastern European related ancestry, and is more variable than in today's Ashkenazi Jews. This is interesting to see. A third of the Erfurt individuals carried the same Ashkenazi specific mtDNA, which is carried on the female side. And the Erfurt community had suffered something called a bottleneck before they had expanded. A bottleneck is when a population gets smaller, similar to 70 AD, for example. There were probably more Jews before 70 AD, but when the Romans came, there would be less Jews. This is a bottleneck. So how did these Jews get to southern Italy besides 70 AD? We know about the Roman and Jewish wars, but what else happened that could have led to this? So according to one of the brothers who's lead in this study, or who's very prominent in the study, is Josh Lipton. And in discussing the origin of the Ashkenazi Jews, he says that his Y chromosomal lineage links Ashkenazi Jews and the Proto-Sephardic Jews in areas such as Tunisia and Libya. He's actually an E marker as well. And this leads back to our original hypothesis. E markers are the first Shemites, the Shemites from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. An interesting thing is that these Jewish populations as well, not only did they have the Southern Italian component, but they also had this Mediterranean component that stretches in all of these Jewish populations. But we know that there has been Jews in the Mediterranean area since the time of, if you read the New Testament, Paul, when he went to travel across the islands to these different Jewish communities. And according to the paper, they say that the Ashkenazi Jews come from a Levantine population that they matched with groups like Samaritans and Lebanese Christians. And that this population mixed with Southwest Europeans around 750 AD. And then they estimated that there was a later Northern European admixture that's probably Slavic that happened around 1250 AD. We know that some of these Slavic components could have been mixed with Khazar as well. But that wouldn't be till the 1200s. First, let's go all the way back to the 750s. How could these Jews have gotten to Italy? Well, one possibility that has been talked about is the Jewish revolt against Heraclius in the Byzantine Sassanid War of 602 to 628. This is considered the last serious attempt at the Israelites, the Jewish people, gaining autonomy in the land of Canaan. And the result of this was a Jewish surrender and expulsion from the land of Canaan. It says that the Sassanid Persians were joined by Nehemiah ben Herschel and Benjamin of Tiberias, who enlisted and armed Jewish soldiers from Tiberias, Nazareth, and the mountain cities of Galilee. And together with a band of Arabs and additional Jews from southern parts of the country, they marched on Jerusalem. The Persian army, reinforced by Jewish forces led by Nehemiah ben Herschel and Benjamin of Tiberias, which was also one of the capitals of Rabbinic Judaism, would capture Jerusalem without resistance. The capture of Jerusalem was interpreted by Jewish writers in a messianic context. Sacrifices may even have been renewed on the Temple Mount. Control of the city was handed to Nehemiah ben Herschel and Benjamin of Tiberias. Nehemiah was then appointed the ruler of Jerusalem. He began making arrangements for the building of the third temple and sorted out genealogies to establish a new high priesthood. After only a few months, a Christian revolt occurred, Nehemiah ben Herschel and his council of 16 righteous were killed, along with many other Jews, some throwing themselves off the city walls. Later on, in 622, the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius had assembled an army to retake the territory lost to the Sassanid Empire. On the 21st of March, 630, Heraclius marched in triumph into Jerusalem with the true cross. Ancient manuscripts date Heraclius' entry into Jerusalem as the 21st of March, 629. From this point on, these Jews would flee. Many of them probably sent as slaves to Rome as well. And they would make a majority or a big group of the Levantine population within Ashkenazi Jews, in my opinion. The year 1349 marked the brutal end of the period of the Erfurt Jewish and the Proto-Ashkenazi Jewish expansion. Accused of having caused an epidemic, Jews were massacred or expelled from the cities, often invited back only to be driven out again. A majority of the region's Jewish community took refuge in the countryside from 1450 onwards. Many of these Jews would later go to the Eastern European territories, such as Poland. This is when you would start to get that Slavic admixture. In this study, they used the Russian population for the Slavic admixture, which is the Eastern Slavic population. If you've seen my past videos, you would know that some of the Jewish Khazars would have fled to these regions, Hungary regions, the regions of the Eastern Slavs. And they would be living there for quite some time. When these Ashkenazi Jews had came from the West, they seen that they had a superior knowledge of Torah and learning and felt free to start learning under them, just like the Jewish Khazars did in Spain with the Sephardic Jews. Some of this Slavic admixture can also come from the women that they would have took on and mixed with as well. When we look at these graphs and tables, we will see some of the admixture. So the red would be Eastern European. That would be your Slavic, similar to Russian, East Slavic. You would have your Middle East, and then you would have your Southern Europeans. And here we see, right here, the Erfurt EU Jews which would be your Eastern European German Jews, the ones who are more to the east. And then you would have your Middle Eastern Erfurt Jews, the ones who came and didn't mix as much. And here you see their admixture. Basically, they were half and half. And you see which branches are close to who. So you have some Ashkenazi that are from the east who are close to the Eastern Erfurt Jews. And then you have Western Ashkenazi who are more close to the Middle Eastern Erfurt Jews. This is very interesting to see, as we know that the Jewish Khazars would have been scattered more so in the eastern area and merged with the Ashkenazi Jews who came from the west. And don't forget the Slavic women who would have joined into the Jewish people. That's the major findings in the paper. But there's also a community on the Eurogenes blog who did an expanded admixture reading. And they found some interesting things. If we look at this admixture reading, the medieval Erfurt Jews had a little bit of sub-Saharan African in them. This matches with earlier finding that all the Jewish populations shared Yoruba ancestry from before the diaspora. Not only that, we see that they have lots of North African and Middle Eastern DNA. This leads to that Mediterranean area. And we also see a little bit of East Asian and Siberian. Now, the Siberian Could be related to the Slavic, the Eastern Slavic, possibly Khazarian, maybe the East Asian as well. But they also noticed that some of that East Asian could have came from before Khazars even came. So that's almost a mystery. Perhaps the Silk Road, perhaps something to do with the Kaifeng Jews. Last but not least, I'll pull out a little bit of information from my brother, Kevin Alec Brook. Hit me up, my brother, if you see this. He's a E-marker Jew. And he talks about a common Ashkenazi Y-DNA group that originates in the Middle East, and this branch is EY14891. It has been found in a Jewish line that comes from Italy, and the parent haplogroup is found in Palestinians, Kuwaitis, Emirates, Arabs from Bahrain, and Greeks. And it's an example of a clear case of Ashkenazi descent from ancient Israelite men. As another branch can be found in Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Iraq, and a few men from Armenia and other places. If you're interested in maybe trying to find Khazarian ancestry in some of those Eastern Ashkenazi Jews, Leo Cooper constructed a genetic autosomal DNA model in which Ashkenazim from Lithuania and Belarus descend 4.2% from the medieval Alans, a people group a part of the Khazar Confederacy that converted to Judaism. But this drops to 0.8% in the Ashkenazim from Poland and Ukraine, and 0% in the Ashkenazim from Germany. And this is why in some of my videos you can see me saying that the Litvak Jews would be a population that may carry remnants of Khazarian ancestry. And do you have small cases like mine, where I have a Y-DNA haplogroup R1A Z280, and I believe my ancestor was a Jewish immigrant who owned a large portion of land where my ancestors came from. And this would have been a converted haplogroup, as it's not found in the ancient Middle East, but it is found in populations that match Khazarian. But that's all I had today. And hopefully this comes out clear and no one tries to misconstrue this video. I've shown you that Ashkenazi Jews come from Israel. They went to Italy and then went to Germany. From Germany, later on, a few hundred years after that, they would mix with Jews that were already in the Eastern European lands. If you know about Khazaria, it wasn't just Khazars, but they were actual Jews there too. So now all Khazar Jews were Khazars. But anyway, I've rambled enough for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And leave a question in the comment if I forgot to mention something. Grace and peace. Shalom. Like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget that. Peace.